Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Few with You. I get asked all the time, why is my website not ranking first page Google? Why are other sites ranking and I'm doing everything I can do, or they think that they're doing? And I'm going to show you an example of why a site is not first page and how you can kind of get it there. Today's subject matter is going to be personal trainer in Miami. You'll notice I went to the 5th page of the SERPs, what we call the search engine result page, and you'll notice I picked this site for today's discussion. It's called We Are Be Fit, and I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the reasons why a site isn't ranking first page Google and some of the things that you can do to increase that. So here's the site. It's a really cool site. It's a responsive site built in WordPress, ironically, which is my forte. And you'll notice the site's design, kind of the call to actions are really good. I think the site from a visual standpoint has really everything you're looking for, and once again, being responsive. It's adaptive across all platforms and devices. Some of the things we look at first and foremost is we're going to look at what the site ranks for keyword wise. Once again, I like to be super informational. I use a tool called SEMrush.com. There's a paid and a non-paid version, but most importantly, it kind of gives you an idea of what the site's done over the span of its existence. You'll notice that there's been this is, believe it or not, somewhat normal to see this increase and drop. It really shouldn't have that much of a slope. Overall, it kind of should be a hockey stick. It should just continue to increase if you're doing the right thing. Most of the time, what this illustrates to us as developers or optimizers is that they probably were doing some type of paid campaign through maybe a little bit of a black hat tactic, just which means that maybe it was a spammy tactic. It ranked for a while. Google said, well, we don't like that. You're using, spammy tactics. They dropped and then they increased, etc. So that's just kind of how I'm looking at it. And then obviously here it gives me a good understanding of what this site ranks for, first page ranking and down. So this right here is the position on Google, 3rd being where they are now, 5th being where they were. And you'll notice that the first page ranking Googles usually fluctuate from about 5 to 10 search results on that first page. You'll notice that obviously once we hit about 9, that's no longer, everything from this point down is no longer first page Google. And you also notice that these keywords really aren't that great. Now this is, gym, Miami Lakes. Now what we would do in this case is we would take that keyword, do a little bit more research behind it. Is it something that carries volume? What's the CPC behind it? Are people actually paying to get there? But either way, he does have first page ranking Googles for Gym Miami Lakes. He's just getting there. He was 14th, so that was a 2nd page, about 3rd spot. But either way, this gives me a good understanding that he ranks for 65 keywords, none of which are first page, but we can go ahead and go through these. And I, as an optimizer, would present this to the webmaster himself and say, look, any of these keywords mean anything to you? Do we have a revenue stream built behind them, etc.? And most of the time they say, yeah, man, I personal trainers in Miami would be a huge one. Well, I would say to them, well, we're 5th page Google, 9th spot. So how do we go about increasing that? Well, it comes into content production and making sure that that content that we're producing on the site is authentic. It's got an organic flow to it. It's fluid, and it's also going to the social portals. But most importantly, we got to make sure that the site's not in this position where it's sick or there's issues that are hindering us to gain these rankings. Now, one of the things that we want to do as an optimizer is also indicate that the site's rather new. One of the things that we do as well is we do a who is information search. So it's as simple as just going to whois.domaintools.com and put the website in there. And what it's going to do is give you a ton of information that's really good for us as developers and optimizers. Say, okay, well, you're using GoDaddy as your registrar, so that's good. Sometimes clients don't even know where their sites are or where they're hosted, etc. But the most important information, we're going to scroll down here, and you're going to notice that it's going to actually tell us when this site was created. So here, created on, I believe, February of 2015. So the site's rather new. And when I put that together with the rankings and the things that I don't have access to right now would be the analytical data, I would be able to say to this particular client, check it. You are a brand new site. You're doing rather well for a site of your age. So let's just go ahead and continue to increase the site's value and its overall size. How do we look at the size? It's really interesting. I've gone over this before in other classes and other videos, but a cool trick to do is go to Google, put in site, semicolon, and then the actual URL, disregard the HTTP and all that jazz. And then what this is going to do is actually give you all the search criteria on how, what this site is and what's going on behind there. So you'll see at this point right now, the site is actually coming up with 206 pages that Google has indexed. So at this point, I can look into those pages and say, okay, well, what is it that is ranking? Some of this stuff is a little bit weird. Sometimes they're image files, media files, as WordPress would fit them in the admin area. But most importantly, it looks like most of it's all authentic. It's good to go. So it's a really good topic matter and a good site to bring to today's discussion because it has all the elements to build upon. Now, this isn't me doing a full analysis. I haven't actually crawled the site, looked through the errors, if there's 404 errors, or let's just say he's got spammy backlinks. Those are all things that will come into play. But most importantly, the size of the site and the overall rankings for the little bit of time that it's been in existence, it's doing really well. So once again, a quick tip on how to increase that. Continue producing content. Content is key. Making sure that that content's authentic and making sure that someone and or something is bringing this to the attention of the web owner and saying, okay, well, if there is a revenue stream behind weight training and pregnancy because they have some type of product and or task that they can provide to a client, then I would say to them, listen, let's do an article series regarding weight training and pregnancy and making sure that we're talking about it. We're the authoritative behind it. We're informational, and at the same time, we're calling, we have the call to actions on the site saying that we are the best in that area. So overall, this is just kind of quick how to look at a site, see if it has the potential of being able to be built upon, and this is a really good example. So shout out to you guys over there at We Are Be Fit. So far, you're doing a great job. Continue to do it, and I hope that this video was informational and it was helpful. All right, guys, take care.